So hi everybody, it's tea time and we're here today, Nadine and Beth. Um, some of our other friends can't be here this time, but we are glad that we can just talk today about it's February, and of course we're talking about love and relationships and being women and sisterhood and then families, and that brings up a whole nother thing, especially for caregivers and folks doing stuff. So we want to just pick up the conversation. We usually start having a little conversation before we hit the record button, and I would love to kind of pick up where we left off. We're talking about families and friendships, and we'll start there. So jump on in.
We talked earlier about friendships being having lots of sisters that are part of our lives, that are sister friends, I'll say. And I have many of those, and I work hard at keeping up with everybody because we all have ridiculously busy lives. But love them all, have learned to take each individual at what they can give, how much they can give, meaning if they can talk, if their life's crazy, got to give you a couple weeks before I can talk or whatever, because we're all in the same place.
Yeah.
And we've all done a really good job, I think, of accepting each other for where we are.
I think the fact that where we are, like that sense of journey, the sense of connecting along the journey, but not being in your own in somebody else's footsteps. You're on your footsteps, they're on theirs. We're on a journey together. You may be a different place on the path that can inform or guide, and that is love too. And you may have to go off on your own path to make some discoveries before you circle back in, but that's okay. And I think as caregivers, if we talk through the caregiver lens, we want, at some point, this was important to us for whatever reason, right? We knew that there was somebody. For me, caregiving was related to the fact that there was somebody who had some vulnerability that at some point or some way I could meet. And then other people I'm vulnerable in ways that other people can take care of me. And so that was something that my grandmother was I think, really good about sharing and teaching me. But we sometimes struggle. I mean, Nadine, you were bringing it up before. We sometimes struggle, whether it's loyalty, obligation, belief systems, the family rule book, the should book. Some of us have little thin should books, and some of us have super fat should books, and different people have different, like you have 10 family members and there's 10 should books, and they're all, that's like, you should do this, you should do that, right? Or why don't you just? That's another phrase I hate, right? So and all those rules that people have in their mind or in their books, they collide, and that really creates an added layer of stress for a caregiver, right? Because the goal is to provide care. And when there's all of these unrealistic and realistic expectations that are put into a system, not necessarily on somebody, but into the system of caring, it can really get complicated. And that can go to the spirit. And you were talking, Nadine, before we got on, you were talking about not Reiki, but that other one. What was that? That other
pranic energy healing.
Pranic energy healing.
Yep. So it's a different type of energy healing. There's quantum energy healing, pranic healing, Reiki energy, touch therapy. They're all kind of laying on of hands in the Christian faith. So every belief system has a form of hand. So pranic healing works from a place of pushing the challenging pieces out and letting the good stuff come in. Laying on of hands is prayer transformation. Reiki energy is sending the good energy in to force the bad energy out. So it's all kind of energy work. But pranic healing gives us an interesting perspective of connection. And it's difficult as a caregiver, I think, because caring comes from a place of love, whether we do it as a business and that's our job or a calling, or we do it as a family member, and that's also a different kind of calling. As a caregiver, we do it from a place of love. So we're very connected. We're very invested. We're very always, this is coming out of us. Always, always, always. We got to think about the next thing. We got to head off the next pass. We got to stop the next disease process. We got to make sure they took their medication. We have to make sure they went to therapy, and are they getting all the things that they need? And we can get so wrapped up in all of loving that we forget to cut the ties sometimes. And pranic healing has a way where we just go like that. And you use your fingers like scissors and you go, today is for me. This moment is for me to breathe, to ground myself, to get an ice cream cone, or to call a friend. Beth was talking about how important her friendships are. Having the understanding as a caregiver when we feel most challenged is when we need to go, hold on a second, give me a breath, and then I'll be back. Because then we can come back with renewed strength and a clear mind and a calmer spirit, hopefully, and better able to care give.
How do you, so how did the two of you cut ties? And when do you cut ties? Not in terms of the relationship, but in terms of the energy that is draining you of your creativity and your spirit.
Well, I think, you get to a point where your spirit or your intuition or the Lord is telling you this is no longer healthy for you. You keep trying whatever you can do, might be varying things, might be the same thing, and there's no the other person is just harming, hurting, saying mean things, or whatever happens, it's very negative. So you have to think about it and decide. For me, that's what I do. Yeah.
I think that's really wonderful. And I think we have to understand that sometimes we can do that. And it doesn't necessarily mean, if you're the only caregiver at the moment and there's just no way that you can walk away. How do you can't cut those ties and say, fine, take care of yourself. Right.
Right. Especially if the person's more vulnerable, right? A
Sure.
lot of time caregiving is about recognizing, hey, I might be weak as can be, but that other person is weaker. So,
Right. But what can we do? We can get them to a stable place and we can go make ourselves a cup of tea. That's cutting the ties for just a cup of tea, or even the process of making the tea. And, in ancient Chinese tradition and in Italy, it's espresso, and in China, it's tea, or in England, it's tea. It's a process. There's a ritual, and those type of things. Ritual is a wonderful way to cut the ties with that pull on your energy and be able to connect with your source. So, prayer is a wonderful way to, if you have something that you're used to saying, or, even oy vey, if that's what you got, having your own thing. Tia, do you have something specific that works for you to help kind of take that separation from?
I think it's different, depending on the specifics of the circumstance, but I do, just getting outside and getting some fresh air. Like I know, especially, in the evenings and the early mornings, I will go out and look at the stars. I'll just go outside. I like this. In fact, this morning I was outside. I was looking at Venus. Venus was beautiful, beautiful. And this month, okay, switch gears here to a little southern and eastern sky. There's going to be 4 planets in the sky, and there's already 2. So, but it was just the most beautiful, bright star. And I can remember even when my mom was in the hospital, I would just, like, at the end of the day, I just go out and I'd look up at the stars and I just say and do whatever I needed to do. And I'd breathe that really, in the winter, that really cold air. And it just, okay, just the world is bigger than me. It's bigger than my little circumstance. And my little circumstance feels huge and overwhelming. But, the world is bigger than me. And I don't need to be so concerned all night long, even though there were plenty of nights that I worried all night long, as things got more serious. But that's where, that would be one way. But then the other way is to just change I'm trying to think how to say it, but so I have, you can build without cutting ties. You can build a little bit of distance and then fill that space with people who have energy. So your sisterhood, right? So you say, oh, well, I'm going to be busy this week. I can't manage that over there. But in the meantime, part of being busy is doing the things that you love and that you want to do, and with the friends. And then I love to hike, and I haven't done it enough. And so my husband and my brother, and my brother this morning, he said, well, Tia, you need to start using your artistic skills inside. You need to start painting or, doing that again. You haven't done that in a while. So family, you will remind you too. Family, friends, other people will also remind you of who you are. And, you can tap into those things. So it's good. That's what I do. But everybody has a different way, I know some people really benefit, especially caregivers, at the height of things that are really tough. That's saying, oh, you can't be negative, and you can't. I'm all for, I think the time to be happy is now, and think positive, and I get the benefit of that. But I'll tell you what, get a punching bag in the basement and put whatever is your fury on it, like on a piece of paper or with duct tape, and put on those gloves. And if you need to hit it. You're not necessarily hitting, but I put cancer down the bag, and I did kickboxing at one of the local places where I was working out. And I would just, in my mind's eye, I was just knocking the crap out of the cancer. And it felt good, right? So we can re-energize and address those things that are draining us in different ways. So, there's not a right or wrong way. It's just be conscious of what your needs are and how you do it. And then that's a way of showing love for yourself. Yeah. So, and I had a girlfriend who, she just calls to blow off steam. And I'm like, I see her name on, I go, whoop, time for the teapot to let off steam, and she just goes, and I listen, and I go, okay, you feel better? Okay, good. And I know I get my turn with her when I want it. So I guess what I'm saying is you don't always have to be happy to refuel. Like, it's okay. I want to give people permission to, the only way you're going to get to that place where you can be positive is if from time to time you face the negative and the hard things, right? So, and maybe some people will disagree with me on that. They say, oh, you're dark and gloomy and doomy, but that's what my experience has been.
It feels very challenging to to be that, a lot of my marriage has been about caregiving because of illness and disease processes. And there's so many times you want to feel angry at the person, but you also know that there's, they wouldn't want it to be that way. They wouldn't choose life in that challenge. However, so what do you do with that anger? And a punching bag is a great idea. Exercise is a great idea. Maintaining a physical health can be, if it's, waking up 15 minutes early to get in some meditation, or, going for a walk in your lunch break, trying to add just 5 minutes 3 times a day to do a little physical activity. It can take you out of a lot of thought process that's going on and bring you into your body and just let you kind of think about nothing else. Because let me tell you what, when you're standing on one foot and trying to keep your balance, your brain isn't thinking about all of the times it feels like it's standing on one foot trying to keep your balance, right? It's only thinking about keeping your balance. So it's a great technique to get into your body, to help deal with some circumstances that are challenging, because they are, so how do we navigate life as a journey rather than a destination, right? We always say we have to be healthy. Well, health thing, makes it feel like it's the end goal. Well, no. As caregivers, we all know that the end goal is death. And then, transformation, if that's your belief system. But yeah, so facing that really matters. Thanks for that, Tia. Appreciate the reminder.
Well, I just want to tell everybody that I love you, and I appreciate all that you do for the people in your circles, and we will continue to learn from one another and learn how to love ourselves a little bit better, and hold each other accountable for taking care of ourselves. And I think that if you are doing caregiving, if there's one thing that I can encourage anybody who sees this to do, is to find that wraparound team, find people who care for you, find a sisterhood, a kinship group. And there are people who are forming those right now, and we can talk a little bit about that at some point, but wanted to just make sure that you all know we are grateful for the work that you are doing on behalf of somebody who is in your care and is more vulnerable than you are in their way, but don't sell yourself short either. Take care of yourself. Thanks, and have a cup of tea. We'll see you soon.